Hi, I'm Tim. Welcome to our channel, and thanks for logging on. If you enjoy these videos, do me a favor and subscribe to our YouTube channel right here at Watchbox Reviews. I promise to update daily, and I would really appreciate it. If you like this watch, you can see it and purchase it on our website, watchbox.com. And today we are discussing the ultimate rarity, not because it was part of a 2007 limited edition of 500 pieces, but because, as far as I can tell, the unit you see here was the only one of the 500 to be delivered on a matching full white gold bracelet. This is the 2007 nominally 500 piece Ulysse Nardin Maxi Marine Diver, a special series with a gorgeous flinque lacquer dial and matching bezel in white gold. It is an absolute mammoth mountain of metal on my wrist. The heft, the feel, the solidity of this watch is incredible. It's not as big as you might suspect, 42.7 millimeters across the round of the case, not including crown or crown guard. Not a super thick watch at 13.7 millimeters thick, but it does have a broad span across the wrist. The lug-to-lug span is constrained. It's only 46 millimeters lug-to-lug, but when you include the solid end links of this immense special order white gold bracelet, you get a much more robust 54.1 millimeters across the wrist. Now, the timepiece does have a broad lug spacing. If you were to throw it on a Ulysse Nardin strap, the 22 millimeter strap, and it is a wonderful piece, would be the correct accessory. But while anyone can have that strap, not everyone can have this bracelet. It's the primary reason this timepiece originally retailed for $50,000. There is a lot of gold in this watch. And the bracelet is an exceptional piece. As you can see, the case back is nicely shaped, even without any sharp ridges, recesses, or projections. It creates no hot spots or pressure points. The lugs are short and relatively stubby, but you will note just how broad those solid end links span. Let's give ourselves a bit more light, get in a little bit closer, improve our focus, and talk about the bracelet. It's a special piece. It's, for once, the rare 3-link bracelet that is not a Rolex Oyster clone. You can see a dramatically ridged set of links with an intermediate staggered polished center. There is plenty of open space between these links to break up the mass of metal and give it a little bit more of a distinct form and identity. Most dive bracelets simply recap Rolex's Oyster. This one forges into new space and really stakes out its own claim to design excellence. We'll talk about the watch in a second, but the bracelet's in a class by itself. Not only does it look different, but the one cardinal feature of all dive bracelets of high quality, present and correct, gaps between the links on the underside to avoid pinching skin or pulling hair. It also vents the wrist nicely on a hot day. And if you're wondering, yes, all of the removable links are fixed by screws. There's a double deployant clasp, and you can see that it too comprised of precious metal. It's not a dive clasp. It's a clasp, but not a dive clasp, as there is no extension built in. And being friction fit, it's not the most shock resistant clasp. It could pop open if you subject the watch to extreme violence, but given the cost of the watch, it's probably not going to be subjected to absolute beater status within your collection or any other. Now, if the bracelet does a good job of separating itself from Rolex's rules with respect to dive watches, the watch itself firmly moves away from the norms pioneered by Rolex and Blancpain in the dive watch segment in the early 1950s. Most divers look like clones of the 50 Fathoms or the Sub, and this watch looks like neither. As you can see, it features a relatively Baroque case form with dramatically sculpted lugs that are physically separate as sculptural elements from the concave profile of the case, and you'll note that the case does have a wonderful, almost, I would say, arced, compound curved, sinuous, sensuous, however you want to describe it. It's far sexier than your average dive watch case, and I'll even say, being broader at the top than at the bottom, it looks like a small vessel for a marine chronometer on your wrist. Ulysse Nardin draws from its heritage of 19th century and early 20th century deck clocks or navigation chronometers to establish the design themes of this watch. It's basically like a vintage marine chronometer that's been miniaturized and then adapted to act as a dive watch. All of high polish, just like a vintage marine chronometer, it has a bolt-fixed individual numbering plaque on its flank. Again, those lugs are dramatic. I can't quite describe them other than that they are concave and curved in their own right. They match the curve of the case. The bezel is sensational. The detent is chunky. The ratchet has a loud click. The knurling is sensational, easy to grip with wet, sweaty, or gloved hands. And you'll note that there is a stamped checker pattern, a little bit like a weave, on the dial, and then there is a wave motif that likewise has been stamped onto the bezel. Both bezel and dial covered with a translucent blue lacquer. You can see all of the indices are applique, not printed. And Ulysse Nardin does make its own 7-jewel module on top of the ETA 2892A2 chronometer base, the module containing the small seconds and the power reserve scale. The crown, a robust piece that inspires confidence in the fingers, allows you to wind the watch, and because it only has a power reserve of 42 hours, winding this watch produces instant gratification and rather dramatic and quick movement of the power reserve indicator. Printing on the dial is precise, nicely constrained, and of high quality. The watch is easy to view day or night. There will be a lume shot. I appreciate the fact that the Cyclops Eye magnifier for the date is underneath the sapphire, not atop. It keeps the face of the watch and the sapphire clean. Turn it over and you actually get to see that for which you have paid. The movement is known as Ulysse Nardin caliber 26. It is a 28-jewel chronometer certified ETA 2892A2 hacking seconds, 42-hour power reserve, bidirectional automatic winding, 28,800 vibrations per hour. It does feature a quick set for the date, a 22-karat gold rose lathe engraved winding mass for higher efficiency, and once more, there is a good deal of manufacturer watchmaking in this watch, as the module atop the 21-jewel base has 7 jewels of its own and is adjusted, fixed, and assembled entirely at Ulysse Nardin. It is their engineering. So this watch does contain manufacturer watchmaking and the rock-solid tank-tough ETA base. It is the best of both worlds. Once more, screw-down crown, 200 meters, water-resistant, a marine chronometer for the wrist and for the dive. You can see this one on the watch box. And I'm back with the Ulysse Nardin Maxi Marine Diver Limited Edition. Big and blue by day, this one glows gloriously green by night. As you can see, despite the skeletonized hour and minute hand, absolutely no difficulty viewing them at night. And you will note that the luminescent pearl of the bezel allows it to be aligned with the minute hand for an impromptu 0 to 60 minute timer. Day or night, give me a dive bezel over a chronograph any day of the week. See it and make it yours on the watch box.